Hello. Okay. Oh, our mics are on, Alexis.
Oh, great.
Yeah. I'm definitely breaking the rules right now by having 3 beverages on the stage. I think
Google
the
way.
camera would like one, but
Well, yes, thank you so much for coming. I'm going to take these off and hopefully not get blinded. Might put them back on.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's really nice to see you all here. Thank you so much for coming. I'm Alexis, by the way. It's not every day that I get to work on something that not only has potential to have great business impact, but also has a lot of personal relevance. And so I know we only have 20 minutes or so for this talk, but I know for a lot of us this has been a lifelong conversation. So thank you for coming and listening to us talk. I'm here with Joan. From Joan
Well, Jaime from Joan
I'm here
Creative.
with Joan. She is Joan. Just kidding. So this talk is really about, it's as much about a campaign that we did for YouTube as it is about a research project that it turned into about why creative is not speaking to women. And so what I do at Google, I have a fortunate job. It's pretty awesome. I get briefed by different groups at Google with very broad business problems. So they come to me with a question, and I get to solve the problem. So when YouTube came to me and asked, how can we position women on YouTube? How can we elevate them? How can we make them speak for themselves in a very empowered way? It was a very broad set of questions. Basically, how can we make our creative on YouTube be authentic to women so we can support them in the same ways that men on YouTube have been successful? And so what an interesting challenge. And I, of course, had to accept this brief because it's a tricky one. I think it's one that's kind of brief that would scare a lot of people.
Why? I don't really know. That seems...
Yeah, so we took on this brief, and one thing that was really, really important to me was the team that was going to work on this. And so I looked at a lot of different agencies, and when I saw Joan and the portfolio that Joan had put together, I knew that I had to work with them, and I had to work with Jaime.
Aw. Well, the brief was really exciting for us, too, because... first of all, YouTube is an incredible brand. And when you look at what these women are doing, these creators, these YouTube creators, they're creating their own brands. And they're doing it by being really authentically who they are. And the relationship that they're developing with their audience is super strong because of it. And so we got to work with Alexis and her team, and we had a lot of fun. And we made this piece here. We actually made a whole campaign around it. We had 10 different YouTube creators that we worked with. And we wanted to take the piss out of all the ways that women are portrayed in the world, and in advertising and in Hollywood, and really kind of celebrate that our YouTube women actually were being authentically who they were. Because it was really very special, and it was what made them both happy as creatives, but also wildly successful with the audience. So we're going to roll a video piece for that. Now.
You guys see?
I don't know, I feel like I get out of the way. Kind of big,
Yay!
yay!
Video.
So that's the kind of big film, but we had also different category films. We had social posts, but it was really about celebrating these women for being authentic. And I think why that really resonated with me was the whole journey with which my personal journey as a creative. So I've been very lucky. I've been in incredible agencies. I've worked with people who I think are awesome people who have always supported me. But I will tell you this, when I first got into advertising, for about the first decade, and I won't tell you how many decades I've been in advertising, so it's none of your business. But when I first got into advertising, I was like always one of 3 at the max women in the creative department. And I kind of realized this pretty quickly. I went to my first agency. There's actually somebody in the audience right now from that first agency. He's in the way back. And I came in high heels and a business suit, skirt like Ally McBeal. I don't know if you guys remember those Ally McBeal business suits. And I clomp my way in, and I was like, I'm a lady, I'm a business lady, I'm going to do this advertising in the creative department. And I quickly realized that the more ladylike I was, the more on the outside it was going to be from this very core and tight creative group. And I think my reaction to it was, I'm not ashamed of it, but I do think my reaction was to become more of a man, and to behave more, to defeminize myself, and to not really lean into ideas that would, ever make me cry or touch me emotionally or speak to my own life experience. I know physically, I started dressing like, like a hobo. Like I would wear like these like big floppy pants and like, I mean, I don't, I was just totally trying to de-lady like myself. But as a creative, I remember I started gravitating toward ideas that had more testosterone in them. And it's great, and I really love the work that I did, and I really am proud of it. But sometime around the birth of my second child, something changed kind of chemically in me, and I also think that the world started to change in what they were looking for from their creative. And clients started asking for people with different points of view. And I was lucky enough to have a mentor at the time who said, why don't you lean into the things that your life experiences, the things that move you emotionally, and really go with it. And it's been really the difference, I feel, for the work that I do. So, bringing us back to this, when we started working with these creators, it was really amazing because they have completely ignored 50, 60, 70 years of advertising and what it means to build a brand, and have really focused on showing warts and all and who they really authentically are.
Yeah, what's amazing about the YouTube creators that have surfaced and have the most engaging audiences, I think, is that they're the types of people who find something they're really passionate about and they just do that over and over and over and over again. And I'm sure we've all wished we could do this and wished we could be that person, and I'm sure a lot of you are. But being able to repeat something and create your own proficiency, that's what they do. They're just obsessed about their craft. And so that has allowed them on YouTube, because it's a democratic platform, it's allowed them to have an authentic conversation with fans who actually want to engage with their talent and their content. And so when we went out to select the women that we worked with, it took a lot of work because we wanted to find people who were authentic, not necessarily big. Like, we didn't care about follower counts, we didn't care about any of that. So some of them were a lot smaller at the time or new to the platform, because we really wanted to show diversity, and we really wanted to understand what is an authentic conversation for women online. And so that's why it turned into sort of a case study for us as well as a campaign for YouTube, because when interviewing each one of these women, it became clear to me that it's not actually enough for Jaime and I to say, well, we're women, so we get it, so we're going to make this campaign for women, and we're going to write the scripts and all of that. These women actually were writing it with us and commenting on all of the lines, and they had to approve everything. So yes, it was a lot of work, but I think the outcome was much better. It
was, and it's funny because we went into the set with like a plan of what we were going to shoot, and working with them as we were sitting there, they'd be like, oh, this just doesn't feel authentic to me. This doesn't feel like who I am and what my brand is about. And we had to change things on the fly.
We had to go out and buy shoes for them, all sorts of
props. Like, go find us some binkies. Like, where are we, pacifiers, where are we going to find binkies? Well, find some.
Yeah.
And it was, and I think that process was really great and really collaborative. And also it allowed them to feel like they were not lying.
Yeah, because authenticity was just as important to them as it is to us for this, and more so too, and they're individuals. So I think the biggest challenge here is that we've been shown in the media, so many different types of women that are not actually resonating. If over 90% of women are saying that creative doesn't speak to them, then we all should ask a question like, what exactly are we doing wrong? What conversations are women actually having? And looking to these women, the beautiful thing about this is that we got to understand what their unique conversations were. So I think, I don't know, what do you think was the most interesting person that we worked with?
Person, yeah. In trouble. I actually thought Yolanda Gamp, who is the cake maker, was really interesting because her whole personality is about wacky fun. And there were things that we thought were in her own brand of wacky fun. And we asked her to do these things. And you could see her shut down immediately, emotionally. And she was like, this is not my brand of fun. Like, my brand of fun is literally like 2 degrees different. But it was very important for her. I thought that was really inspiring because it was a woman who kind of knew what she wanted. And she was really going to be really true to herself to get it. You?
Yeah, and also to add to that too, I think a lot of this was about figuring out how to work with YouTube creators specifically is very unique than hiring talent, because they're not actresses, and they're very real, they're very raw, and I think that is what their audience is demanding. And I think one of the big takeaways here too is that there is a big demand for real and authenticity. Yeah. Like, women are not looking for perfection. They want somebody to relate to and to have a conversation with. And when we see mainstream media, we see big advertising, we see people that have been scripted to talk a certain way and to look a certain way and to wear shoes that they did not pick in the middle of the shoot, then what you end up with is the same kind of shit. And so, working with them allowed us to really understand, like, oh, I don't even get it most of the time. It's really hard for me to understand because they're so unique and dynamic, and we don't have examples of what this campaign should look like. So we didn't necessarily get it all right 100% of the time, but I think we got a lot of experience about how to get pretty close.
I mean, I think a huge takeaway when you kind of look at making work that speaks to people is to try to find, work that speaks to you and to not try to change your voice for really anybody. And I think that is an inspiration that definitely got on this set, because these women cultivate these really deep audiences who love them and will do anything for them. And it's because they're very true to who they are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think also, too, working with so many creators, I don't know how many people in the audience have worked with YouTubers before, but it can be challenging for brands and advertisers to actually find the right people to work with. And then once you find them, let's say you find the perfect YouTuber to work with, it's hard to know how to represent them in an authentic way when you're on a production schedule and you've got to shoot and you've got to deliver and all of this kind of stuff. And I think for me the biggest part was this kind of campaign, speaking to women, is really, really hard, and nobody will criticize you for taking extra time. Give yourself the time to do it. There aren't very many examples, and I think there's so much benefit. There's so many opportunities right now to do this really, really well. And it just hasn't been done that much. Most campaigns are about empowering women. They have very lofty messages about, like, all women should be empowered, like, speak out and all this kind of stuff. But then what do you say? Like, speak out. And then how do I speak? What do I say?
I gotta tell you, the most interesting fucking thing about this was that these women were empowering themselves. Nobody had to say, you be you, go do your thing, go girl. These women were like, screw you, dude. I got a camera and I got an audience, and I made that all myself.
I'm already going.
And so I feel like that is something that we should all kind of take, that little spirit, that little firepower, and we should put it in our bellies, and we should save it for any time that we're feeling a little bit down, and be like, screw you, dudes. We're gonna make it ourselves. I don't know. Anyway. I'm leading the rebellion. Who wants to join? Let's go.
We're leading a rebellion.
Yes, all right.
And honestly, it's not a rebellion against dudes. Like, it's actually like it's something for everybody. It's a challenge. Like, think of it as a creative challenge, just like any other creative challenge. It just happens to be a taboo topic. It's some scary feedback.
You know what I think it's a rebellion about? It's a rebellion against expectations that are put on you, and it's a rebellion against your fear to really truly express yourself like the way you want to. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it should be fun. Honestly, it should be fun. It should be a fun challenge to address.
What do you think?
So I think we have time to open it up for questions, which could be kind of scary or really awesome, depending on what everybody wants to ask. Does anybody have any questions for us?
Come on. Oh, we got one back there.
Yes.
He's actually already mic'd, so it's easy.
Turn on his mic.
So you guys have talked a lot about what to say in these marketing messages, these ads, but are the ways that the story is being told, are those changing also? Are they different? Like, how are you thinking about forms and formats for these stories, in particular the ones that women will respond to?
It's a very interesting question. We actually did a whole lot of testing on different formats to use. And I would say, first we're dealing with the digital landscape, which is challenging enough. So I would say that throughout the process of understanding how to craft for digital and social and different channels so that you can be very dynamic and targeted with your advertising, the more targeted your creative is to women, the better your targeting is going to be on paid media anyways.
And I would just add to that, on all of the work that we do, whether it's we do a lot of work to men, we do a lot of work to teenage boys, old people, everything. I feel like what digital platforms have opened up is the ability to have a conversation two-way with people. And it's clearly what our YouTube creators have learned themselves. And so whether you're speaking to women or you're speaking to really anybody, I think going and using the social tools that we have to really go in there and learn about them is a great way to kind of stoke the conversation and keep it going further. Mm-hmm. I've got another one.
In the back.
You joked that you wanted to lead the charge. I was curious to know where you see the future in terms of advertising to women.
Oof.
How much time we got?
Well, how much time? Here's what I would like. I would like us to stop. I hope that in 2 years' time, we're stopping even this conversation happening. I hope that in 2 years' time, we're just making great work for human beings. And if your audience is a woman, and you make something that makes her laugh, and you make something that makes her want to fight, or you make something that makes her cry, or whatever that is, then you've just done a great job. And I feel like the industry is, I feel like we've at a point where, I mean, I'm walking down the Croisette, and I'm seeing all these things about, and I'm on this freaking panel, and I'm seeing all these things about women. And I think we're hopefully at a tipping point where 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, we're just making great work. We're just using our creativity, and we're just using our creativity to speak to people.
Yeah. Yes.
Hi guys, I wanted to just ask you a question about YouTubers and the age groups of fans. These women kind of represent me a little bit more, I would say, compared to say 5 years ago. The YouTubers that we saw then. Have you seen that audiences are getting slightly older of these kind of series, or is it still very much the kind of teenage demographic?
So I think there are more women who are feeling more confident, like more older women who are feeling confident, and I mean they're not that old, but the demographic is very broad, and what we wanted to do was to select women who represented lots of different age groups as well, and so this campaign was meant to be a little more mature, mostly to understand how to speak to that kind of audience. So you'll notice the creative is very different than any other YouTube creative that we did.
One of my favorite people that we met was Angie, who's her handle is Hot and Flashy, which is really funny. And she basically was like, I'm getting older. I want to fight it. She's like, I just want to fight it, and I don't care. I don't think I should feel bad for saying that. So again, being authentic. And so she decided to create a channel where she tries all the anti-aging techniques, and like warts and all will tell you about all of the positives and negatives. Like, this one gave me diarrhea. She'd be like, I'll just tell you. I don't care. I'm going to tell you because someone needs to know. And so I feel like the really exciting thing was watching women of different age groups, even within our own group of women, our cohort of women that we brought in here, kind of using and tapping into the platform to kind of to do something that they felt was an opening in the market, or something that they wished that they had personally.
Yeah. Did you have a question?
Yeah. Hello. Hi.
Hi.
I think I've got 2 questions, but I'll start with this one. Why is it, do you think, that advertisers, when the target market becomes a mother, suddenly assume that the woman has had a lobotomy and no longer finds anything humorous or stupid? You know, suddenly everything becomes very bland and banal. And it's probably the biggest thing that advertising agencies seem to fight against, the horrendous thing when you see a brief and it says target markets mums.
Oh, preach, man, preach. Because I'll tell you this. For so long, I've run creative departments for many years now. And I think it's getting better. But I will tell you that when a brief would come in for a female-targeted audience, whether it was a mother or not, I could not get a creative to do it if I offered them like $1 million, just my personal, I don't have $1 million cash, but if I had it, like, my personal cash. And I think the reason why was because they weren't sure that they were going to get work that was going to be good. Like, why are you going to spend like a year of your life making something that's shit? I think we're changing. And I feel like what's happening is that clients are getting more bold, and they're starting to understand that if they really want to have a place in people's lives, that they have to speak to them in a real way, and they have to actually treat them as more than just a walking credit card. And they have to somehow tickle their heart or tickle their mind, or I don't know, tickle wherever. So that is how you're going to be effective. Otherwise, you're going to get left behind. And I feel like it's changing. I really do.
Yeah, just briefly to add to this, I think it goes back to kind of the 2 points, which is that there aren't very good examples out there. And so if you think about your data is only good as the junk you put in. And so then if you have historic data on like what women respond to, what mothers respond to online, and they've only been shown the same kind of stuff over and over again, then a lot of that same stuff is going to be created, and you're going to get briefed in the same way, which is, here's our profile, here's our customer profile, and here's what we know about her, which is actually probably very little. So that's part of it. And then another part of it is basically like what Jaime's saying, that that we need to take that challenge and actually challenge the briefs probably, because I think there's so much pressure in the industry to say, I know. And, it should be okay to say, I actually have no idea, please help me, and like go do more research and take time with it.
And I think we have to challenge our clients. When we represent something, and we have wonderful clients, so I don't feel like we have to, but when we present something that is a little bit more interesting, I think we have to say, yeah, trust me, like this isn't, this is something you need to do. You need to go there.
Yeah. I think our time is up. So thank you.
Wow, all right.
If you have questions, we'll be around.